Welcome, everyone. This is Greg Rock, and we're thrilled to be featuring Andrew Campbell as the next speaker in our Meet the Author webcast series that we feature here at BPM Institute. Andrew is the author of a brand new book that's just come out, an Operating Model Canvas, aligning operations and organizations with strategy. He's also director of the Ridge Strategic Management Center with Hult International Business School, and a frequent contributor to BPM Institute. You may have already seen some of his articles published on the site. Andrew has a great deal of experience that he brings with us. He's been with Ridge since it was formed in 1987 and researches issues connected with the management of multi-business companies. He also directs research projects, runs management programs, and advises client companies. And today we're thrilled to have Andrew come in and talk to us about the book that he is the lead author on. And without further delay, Andrew, I'd like to turn things over to you.
Well, thank you, Greg, and hello, anyone who's listening. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and then about the book. The first slide that you can see there is a history of some of the books that I've published. I'm a bit of an expert on corporate level strategy and more recently moved into organization design. Even written a book there in the bottom right hand corner on Think Again, which is about why great capable leaders can sometimes make rather stupid decisions. But that's not the focus for today. The focus for today is this book here, Operating Model Canvas. And I might start by giving a bit of a definition of what we mean by an operating model. So an operating model is a document, and I'm going to explain a version of that which is a one-page document of an operating model. And the document describes how an organization does what it does, how it delivers the value that it provides to beneficiaries if it's a charity or customers if it's a commercial organization. And an operating model can be a one-page document, it can be a 10-page document, it can be a 100-page document. And the best operating models are fairly visual so that you can kind of see as well as read. And if you're looking for an analogy, the best analogy is probably a blueprint building, or when the designer comes to design your kitchen, that usually leaves you with a page which is kind of the design. And that's what we're talking around here, is the design of the operations of an organization. To position this a little bit more, then the operating model is a step that you take in the journey from developing a strategy, deciding what it is that you want to try and do, through to successfully doing it. And there are quite a few steps in that journey, and the operating model step is just one of them. It comes right after strategy and before you develop a plan to transform your existing operations into the new order that that is going to be necessary to implement the strategy. So it's think of it as a step that comes right after strategy. Now, this chart is describing the operating model canvas, which is the core tool that the book is all about. And this is the one-page version, the one-page operating model. And I'm going to make a link in a moment with the business model canvas and hence the similarity in the name. But let me describe first here what the operating model canvas is. You'll see in the center of this chart an arrow going left to right called value delivery chain, and with the letter P in the front of it, which really is about processes. So this is, what are the process steps that the organization needs to go through, and the work steps that it needs to go through in order to deliver the value proposition, the the parcel at the end of the arrow, to the customer or the beneficiary, the people just beyond that parcel. And this arrow is a place for capturing that information. What is the important work that needs to be done to deliver the value proposition? And around this arrow there are 4 boxes, which are places for putting thoughts about organization, information systems, buildings and locations, and supplier arrangements. 4 critical parts of the organization needed to support the work steps that are in the middle of that arrow. So that's the operating model canvas, and this is used in the same way as the business model canvas to capture high-level thoughts, often using Post-it notes, about these 5 aspects. And if we can move to the next slide, this is about the business model canvas. And you'll see here, for those of you who are familiar with the business model canvas, it has customers on the right-hand side and value proposition in the middle. And then the 3 boxes on the left-hand side, key partners, key activities, and key resources, are really about the operations of the organization, about how it delivers the value proposition. And what the operating model canvas is doing is replacing those 3 boxes on the left-hand side of the business model canvas with the 5 boxes, including the arrow, of the operating model canvas. So there's a direct connection here between the operating model canvas and the business model canvas, and one way of thinking about it is it's a way of enhancing the business model canvas. Those who are followers of Alex Osterwelder and his co-authors will know that he has written a book called Value Proposition Design, which enhances the right-hand side of the canvas. You'll see there a circle with some lines in it and a rectangle with some lines in it. And those are the symbols of the Value Proposition Design book. The Operating Model Canvas book is doing the same kind of job for the left-hand side of the business model canvas. Now, the operating model canvas has a 6th element to it, which is the management system. And that doesn't show up often because it's a thought that underpins the other thoughts. So again, let me just run through these now 6 pieces of the operating model canvas. So the middle arrow is the work that needs to be done to deliver the value proposition. The organization box is about the people who are going to be doing that work, and how they're structured and what decision rights they have and the culture that's required to support them. The information box is about the information systems needed to support that work, and the data bases needed to support that work. The locations box is about the buildings where the work is going to be done and the locations of those buildings where the work is going to be done. Or if all the work is going to be done in one building, then what parts of the work are going to be done on the top floor or the bottom floor or in the left-hand corner versus the right-hand corner. And the supplier box is about those people outside the organization who are going to be doing work in support of this organization, and what sort of relationships are required with them. And the management system layer that kind of rides underneath those 5 boxes is about the planning processes, the budgeting processes, the target setting, the performance management, the people review processes, the even continuous improvement processes that are needed to run the organization, once it's been put in place. So this is the full operating model canvas. Let me just spend a moment on the benefits of the canvas. Now, why is this a good tool? What is it doing for you? Why would you want to spend time learning about it? First is that it enables you to capture the important information on one page. It gives you a one-page picture, which in itself is often incredibly valuable. Just like that one-page drawing of your kitchen layout or your garden or your new house is very valuable in helping you get your mind around the whole and think about the different parts of the whole and how they interact. It can be extended to a 10-page document, and of course it can be extended further into even 100 or 1,000-page document, although by that stage you're talking about more like an operating manual than an operating model. The canvas itself is the sort of thing you can draw on a flip chart. You can get post-it notes out, you can crowd around it, and you can write ideas down and stick them up and dialogue about what different managers think are important. Actually having a limited amount of space, each of these boxes in the canvas are quite small, just like they are in the business model canvas, forces people to focus on what's really important, which itself is a valuable contribution to quality dialogue. It's a very easy thing to share and communicate, and different managers can very quickly understand what it's saying. And importantly, the canvas and some of the supporting tools are designed to help managers develop at one level enough information to be able to brief the project leaders who will be working at the next level of detail. So those are the main benefits of the canvas. Now let me explain how you might build one up. So the first step typically is to lay out the work that needs to be done, the value chain, in order to deliver the value proposition. So in this particular example, the work steps are, design maybe a new product, buy the ingredients needed to make it, sell it, and then provide service once the customer is using it. And at the end there, you'll see the word low cost. The core value proposition, let's say in this example, is that the product or the service is being provided at very low cost and therefore low price to the customer. Once you have clarity about the work steps, the value chain, some might call it a value stream, some might call it just a high-level process. So I'm probably being intentionally sloppy in language here, because the key thought is here, what are the main work steps required to deliver the value proposition? Sometimes there are more than one value chain, because there is more than one value proposition, and so that middle arrow might be filled with 2 or 3 of these chains of steps. Once you have clarity about the core steps, the next task is to fill out other spaces on the canvas with thoughts about organization or information or location or suppliers, with a particular emphasis on those thoughts that are important to the value proposition. So in this particular case, low cost is the value proposition, and in the middle arrow of the process, then the make activity and the buy activity are both rather critical to achieving that. But in the information box, then a thought that would be important would be, well, we probably need standard applications to support our work processes, because if we have bespoke applications, that's going to add quite a bit of cost. Equally, in the organization box, the thought might be, well, we'll probably need a functional structure rather than a unitized structure or a geographic structure, because that's likely to be the most efficient way or lowest cost way of organizing our people, and so on. In the locations area, then a particular thought would be, well, we need low-cost locations. We don't want to be in high rent areas or areas where we have to pay high salaries for the work that we're needing done. So there's an immediate link here between the value proposition and the different boxes on the operating model canvas. Now let me give you some worked examples. This canvas can be used to lay out the operations of a huge international company like Shell. That's an oil company, global oil company. At this level of abstraction, then the canvas gives little more information than that Shell has 3 big divisions: upstream oil, downstream oil, and integrated gas. It has a centralized technology and projects group who provide the technology and run the major projects required in those different divisions. One of the big suppliers, the top right-hand side, are contractors who help with these major projects. It's a Dutch-British organization with headquarters in both countries. That's the top right-hand locations box. In the bottom left-hand organization box, then it's a functional business division matrix. So there are quite a few central functions like finance and HR and IT supporting this organization. It has a culture driven primarily by the engineers who dominate the organization. And interestingly, Shell has multiple IT systems supporting its different divisions rather than one for the whole organization. Now, the canvas can therefore be used at this very high level. It can be used at a much more micro level. So this is a canvas for Ivo Van Haren Publishing, the company who published the book Operating Model Canvas. And I'm not going to go through all of the posted notes here, but you can see that the Van Haren Publishing's value proposition for most of their books is ready for trainers. They want books that are easy to teach, easy to communicate, and at reasonable prices. And that certainly is true for Operating Model Canvas. I'm going to give you another example. This is for a function. So we're now looking at, a organizational unit within a larger organization. So this is an HR function for an online retailer, which has 3 business units and some corporate functions. And these are the little circles at the end of the middle part of the canvas. This particular HR function interacts with those parts of the business it's trying to serve through human resource business partners who provide the lead contact with the different business units and the corporate functions. They're supported by some expert groups like compensation and benefits or HR consulting, and those are all supported by some HR analytics team who provide the data on the organization. And you'll see some of the connections going on between the HR business partners and the organization box, and between the supplier. So one of the suppliers, this is top right-hand box, to the HR function is the IT function within this organization. And they provide good information, good software that is used by the HR statistics, HR analytics team. So you can draw lines on the canvas to show connections between different parts of the operating model that you're looking at. The important message here is that you can look at the operating model of a team of 5 people, or you can look at the operating model of a function like HR, or a business like Van Haren Publishing, or a huge global corporate a company like Shell. My own favorite in the book, which I'm not going to go through, but I'm just alerting you to, is an operating model for a department called Quartermaster Stores at the Hackers Conference that happens every year in Los Angeles called DEFCON. And this is a department of 5 people. And for those of you interested in how this operates and the Hackers Conference in Los Angeles, then here's some insight into it, which you can get from looking at the book. The other part of the book, which is going to be most useful to you all who are listening to this recording, is the toolkit that the book provides. And there are 5 core tools which address the 5 core spaces on the canvas. But there are also 13 additional tools described in the book that provide additional guidance and help for working with different aspects of this canvas. I want to take a couple of moments to introduce to you 2 of these tools, the value chain map and the organization model. And I'm not going to take you through all 5 because we don't have time and you would probably lose interest. But I do recommend these tools to you as being powerful aids to doing good operating model work. So, a value chain map is a high-level process map in that it's laying out the work steps needed to deliver different value propositions. So the example here is for my organization, Ashridge Executive Education, which runs open courses and tailored courses and qualifications courses and conferences, and even, because it's a beautiful building, offers weddings at the weekend and does research which results in books like the Operating Model Canvas. And what this map is showing is that each of these value propositions require some work steps. So for open courses, you have to design the course, you've got to market the course, you've got to administer the course, and you've got to deliver the course. An open course is one that's available to anybody who would like to sign up for it. In conferences, you've got to market the building to people who want to run conferences. You've got to quote and close the deal with the conference person, and then you've got to administer the conference. So that has 3 work steps, whereas the open courses one has 4 work steps. Now, you'll see along the top, I've then summarized kind of all of the work steps that are involved in these different value propositions, and put similar work steps under each other. So under the marketing chevron, there's some marketing that goes on for open courses and for qualifications and for conferences and for weddings, and all of them have some admin activities. Now, the benefit of doing this map, you can then examine the columns to consider whether it makes more sense for the work that is being done to report to somebody who's head of the column rather than report to somebody who's head of the value proposition, somebody who's head of open courses or somebody who's head of conferences. So, and the logic would be that you'd get economies of scale, or that people would be better managed, or that they would be happier working in that community, or there can be a variety of logics for saying they would be better reporting vertically than horizontally. Although the default position is that people should report horizontally, because that is the best way of getting them aligned for delivering the value proposition. So this is one of the tools that supports the operating model canvas, and as you can tell, it not only lays out the work steps involved in this organization, but it enables the analyst to think about the organizational implications of those work steps and what might be the best way to organize them for efficient and effective delivery. which leads me to the next tool, which is a tool called organization modeling, or organization model. And here, the work from the value chain map is positioned as operating work along the bottom of the organization chart here. And support activities, or any activities that have been decided to report vertically rather than horizontally, are positioned in one of the 4 quadrants above that operating model work, or the core operating work. And the 4 quadrants define 4 kinds of relationship that those centralized or support activities have with the people doing the main operating work. And just to mention a couple of them, the policy relationship is one where somebody sets a rule and the people, the rest of the people in the organization have to live by it. Maybe it's a travel coach or something, or do your accounting this way. That's the policy relationship. The shared service relationship is a very different kind of relationship, and this is where the people providing the service are, in a sense, suppliers to the rest of the organization, who are their customers. And so you get a more of a customer-supplier relationship rather than a policy or policeman relationship. And so this tool is a way of moving from the value chain map to the organization structure and understanding the relationships that are involved in that structure. And as I pointed out earlier, there are 3 other core tools, and there are another 13 tools in the book. You can get a copy of this book at a discount as a result of a deal that BPM Institute have done with Van Haren Publishing. And there is also a website that you can visit, which is operatingmodelcanvas.com, where there are a lot of other materials and information that you might like to access. I might close with some open spread pictures. This is a really easy to read, easy to access, fun book to own, fun book to dive into, fun book to browse. So do get a copy. Greg.
All right, Andrew. Well, first I want to congratulate you on getting the book published. I know that's a labor of love to get those things done. And appreciate you walking our members through the benefits that they can get from the book. The business model canvas is something that I think is familiar to a lot of the folks in our community. We use that in both our BPM courses as well as our business architecture courses. And so the enhancements to that that you're suggesting, I think, are something that folks should explore. Also, I wanted to let folks know that Andrew has been good enough to provide us with a free chapter of the book. Folks can go and download that on the same page as the webcast or in the book section of our website, and so you can use that as a sample. And the publisher has also given a discount to BPMI members as well. But Andrew, before we let you go, I know with a lot of your work, you've written quite a bit on business strategy. And what was the impetus to write this book about operating models?
Well, it's been an interesting journey myself. I think that spent 20, 30 years being a strategist, first at McKinsey and then as an academic. And I guess it was discovering that so many strategies don't get well executed. And my first step was into organization design, particularly structure. And then I realized that, even if you get the structure right, if you haven't got the processes in place and you haven't got the right buildings and you haven't got the right supplier relationships and you haven't got the right IT systems, in fact, IT is often a huge impediment to good strategy execution. And this is, so therefore, I've become more and more focused on operations. And the last 5 years really has been a joy and a discovery that it is possible to find a way from brilliant strategy ideas to an organization that can deliver them.
Right. No, well, I think we appreciate you making that connection for folks. I think, you know, it's easy sometimes to get carried away with the picture that the analysts are painting in the industry of digital transformation and a lot of folks becoming digital businesses. But I think it's important for folks to recognize some of the prerequisites to getting there are having the right operating model and having a good handle on your processes. It's going to be hard to become a digital business without those things in place. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, as a key takeaway, if there's one or 2 points that you think folks would take away from this book, what would you see those being?
I think that probably the biggest contribution is kind of making the term operating model a friendly term. For a lot of people, the words operating model are used quite loosely in organizations and are a bit scary because it sort of is something that people feel that they ought to know something about. They don't know very much about it. They see consultant presentations which have got 100 slides in it and with lots of complicated stuff on them, and I think it scares them a bit. And this book is simple, it's understandable, your 8-year-old child could understand it. It should debunk a lot of the mystique around the idea of what an operating model is and how you should use one and when you need it and how you'd create it.
As you were writing the book, Andrew, is there, within our community, of course, there's folks all up and down, different roles within process improvement teams, from business process analysts to process owners to the folks that are running the Center of Excellence. Who did you have in mind when you were writing the book, and who do you think will get the most out of it?
I think the strategically oriented process experts are going to get the most from this, because there's real alignment between the way lean process people think about business and this book. But it helps them raise their thinking up from the 43-step process to high-level process thoughts and the consequences they have for organization and information and location and so on. But it has quite a wide potential audience. So clearly, business architects, enterprise architects, the operating model is a phrase that almost overlaps with the term business architecture, and is, I think, for many not trained in business architecture, a much more friendly term. But for those who are running transformation projects, then understanding operating model, being able to push their masters, the people who've given them the transformation assignment to articulate better what it is they're trying to achieve, is useful for people in business planning and strategy who want to take their ideas and make them more practically useful to the organization. This is valuable. I have worked personally with business partners from human resources and from IT and from HR who find this very useful in helping them understand the parts of the business that they're interacting with. And frankly, anybody leading a team of people needs an operating model.
Right.
And this is a tool for helping them think about it.
All right, very good. Well, Andrew, we've just about run out of our time, but one last thought as we wrap up here. Can you help folks to make the connection between business process management and an operating model? And we'll close with that.
Well, this might get me out of my comfort zone on business process management, and I might easily say something that some of your members are going to disagree with. But the connection is that the middle arrow of the canvas. My particular tool for working with that is the value chain map, which is a sort of high level, very high level, I suspect for many of your members, process map or multiple process map. and that's the core connection. So I'm expecting it to be very easy for process people to get their minds around this.
Right. Yeah, so value chain maps and value streams will not be foreign to our folks. We talk about that quite a bit and focus on that in a lot of the training courses that we have. So with that, Andrew, again, I wanted to congratulate you on publishing the book. And for folks that are looking to get some more information, they can obviously bounce out to the Operating Model Canvas.com website. And throughout the year, Andrew will also be contributing additional articles to bpminstitute.org. So stay tuned for that. And as I wrap up here, I just wanted to mention we're still kind of at the beginning part of our year here at BPM Institute for the different activities that we have going on throughout the year. And for folks that are based in the Midwest, one of our first stops of the year will be in Chicago at the last week of April. We have 3 other events we're going to be holding throughout the year, and in each of those cities, we bring just about our entire catalog of BPM and business architecture training courses with us, and you'll see us in San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and New York. But this year, we featured a much expanded program, and with dedicated certificates around Agile Business Analysis, our traditional BPM and business architecture, but also a brand new Operational Excellence certificate, and also digital decisioning. And so we look forward to meeting our members in these different locations and online. And for everyone who's listened to our recording, we appreciate your participation and look forward to hosting you in an upcoming webcast. Andrew Campbell, thank you very much. And we look forward to your upcoming contributions to the website.
Greg, thank you. It's been a pleasure.